So I think I'll just start off with asking general comments, like what did you think about the story? Did it work or was it convincing? And the general. Yeah, any one of you can start.
Question. I have a question, Wei.
Sorry.
Said that if the story is convincing, what do you mean by that?
Like, did you find this? Did it work basically? The story. Did it make sense for you?
I guess because I asked, I'll answer. For me, yeah, it makes sense, and you know that I like the story.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say.
I guess to answer your question now, I also really liked your story. It was surprisingly emotional, or I got emotional in the second act of your story with the mom, and yeah, I would say it hit home somehow.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll leave it at that first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for me, like the standout part, is it recording? Okay. The part is like your description. I don't know. I really loved how you wrote it. Like I don't know. It was so like I really love the details that you picked out to set like the scene in my head. It was so detailed and so pretty. Like just reading it felt like I don't know, looking like a really prettily painted picture, and I just really like that. And I really liked how like it did feel seamless, the cat and to the mom. I think that was one of the things he wanted to see if like did well. It made sense, like that you find something like that you love, and then that you love unconditionally, and then like what's the last like what is the societal impression of unconditional love, motherhood, or like parenthood. um and so that jump was interesting, like and it made sense. And like and I really liked it, and like and how you built the tension between her and the mom. Like actually I related to that a bit, just because like I don't know if this is a Malaysian thing or an Asian thing in general. Like, because I feel like when people value their pets in media or in stories, it's usually American stories or something. Like, of course you value your pet. Of course you're going to use money to save their life and stuff. But when it comes to, like, I don't know, like more Asian stories, or like what I see around me, aside, like, I don't know, at least for my parents' attitudes, they're like, like, that dog better not get sick. We're not going to spend surgery money on him, no matter how much you love him. So I related to that aspect, and the part where she got super mad. I think for me, like, I'm not sure. It's maybe this is just me not having thought about it like as much. Like, I like this, like, I don't know, like you introduced this kind of element of mindfulness like within the story. Or I'm not sure if mindfulness is the correct term, but that aspect of we're all telling ourselves a story, and what it means to living in the present, which is what cats do. It's letting go of that narrative and focusing on the specific here and now. And like I like that, but I will say, like, for me, it came a little bit as a surprise, because I liked it, but it but it I'm not sure how it connected to the previous aspects. Although I can see how that connection was made. And as for, like, I guess the answer, I will say I don't think I completely understood the ending. It might just be me. Like, it could be like I need to read it again. But on, I think, second read, I'm not 100% sure yet, like, what it means. For me, my answer right now is like what I think the answer is that her mom loves her. Like, and that's really what it is. And at the end of the day, like, your parents love you, and that's a fact. But the story of it, like the past that you experienced with them can complicate it. It will give you pain, but it also doesn't take away from the fact that within the present and the continuing present, they love you. And that's what I'm getting from it. But I'm not 100% sure that was what you were going for. So, yes.
Thanks for the comment. It's really helpful. Basically, I wanted to show, similar to what you said, partially why I started with describing the cat and how the cat hunts is because I hoped it wouldn't be too sudden in the end when I talk about how she realizes that the cat isn't really thinking. Cats, like, they operate in fits, not like humans. We attach ourselves to a narrative, right? So I wanted to use that spontaneousness as a gateway to that revelation. Not so much the word mindfulness, but more like, spontaneousness. Yeah. But yeah, I really like your comments, and I will think about everything you said. Was the like first and second paragraph, were they too long? I don't like those paragraphs.
I can say that before I give my answer to that, I liked the piece and I enjoyed reading every moment of it. But since you said in the on the website that you wanted it to be shorter, then my comments are more for like how you can shorten it and what could feel long to some readers. Um, I think what could feel long to some readers is how you go into listing like the caretaking experience for the cat. You mentioned the playing, the feeding, and all those things. And like for me, because I'm a cat mom, I'm okay with it. But I feel like people who have never had a cat before, they might find it boring, or you know how like some people when they think of short stories, they want it to start, in a very exciting way, start in the middle of things or whatever. And you didn't do that in your short story. But I guess, like I said, like for me it's fine, but if you want to condense it more, and maybe what would help you, um what Therese was saying, how maybe some aspects of maybe the conclusion that Christine has toward the end, she understands it, but maybe like it could be tied together more. I think the start could be used for that because your story has three very clear arcs. So, about how it is with the cat on like a daily basis, and then the mom, and then the hospital part. So I think with the first section, um maybe we can zoom in on a specific moment between Christine and the cat, just so um it's, I guess, for non-cat moms or cat parents, they would immediately sort of just understand the connection between Christine and the cat beyond caretaking. Because, for example, you go into how Christine plays with the cat and how the cat is, attracted to the mouse toy. Maybe we can go into the play a little bit more. Like, what is this mouse toy? Is this a new mouse toy that the cat is attracted to? Does it make any sound? I don't know if this is your experience with cats, but like my cat has like favorite toys. So maybe this is a favorite toy of Iris that makes her go a little bit crazier than usual, makes her run a bit faster than usual, or jump higher. So I think those more specific things would sort of show both a spontaneity, but at the same time, like really that bond that's from maybe play or just spending time together, as opposed to just a list of things that Christine does for the cat. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a great suggestion. I was I was like you said, I was scared that it would be very sudden when I jumped to the motor. That's why I really tried to spend time on like describing how she bonded with the cat because I didn't want her to be like a conventional automatic cat lover. So yeah. But yeah, that's very valid. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I also ask something? Um, do we want Christine to want the cat to love her? Do we want that? Because toward the end of your story, when she freaks out about Iris getting hurt, and she thinks that Iris will hate her, right? Um, I guess that also could have been earned if at the start we see that Christine wants Iris to love her. So that could be giving her more toys to play with, or more playtime, or I don't know, more treats or something. So that by the time that she fears that Iris will hate her, we have an idea of what does this hate look like? Does that mean Iris will never sleep with her ever again? Iris will never snuggle with her ever again? So I think at the start, showing that like this is what love looks like between the two of them would make the oh my gosh, this will my cat hate me forever kind of like just hit harder for her.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I really wanted her to project onto the cat, but I didn't want it to be like too obvious. I wanted it to be very organic. Do you think it would work better as like a first person story?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I think the fictionists are better for this question.
Just be super quick. I don't think. I think it's fine as is.
Yeah, for me, I'm not a fan of first person personally, so I'm already biased. But I think it really worked. Like this, your tense here worked in your favor. So
For me, I really liked this. I really liked third person and how you told it. But also at the same time, like I guess the question would be like, what do you hope to include with first person? Like, is it like more emotional connection? Is it more of like an ability to articulate what the cat means to to her, to Christine?
Basically, I want her to. I want her point of view to be very prominent in the story, like how she thinks about how she sees love, like with a cat, and how that translates to her reflection about the relationship she has with her mother. But at the same time, I'm quite cautious about it being, too obvious if I do that. It's just something I'm thinking about.
can I make
Anyone?
observation? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Wait. So since you were saying that it's important to you to have the relationship between the introducing the cat as well, like as a device, and then having it be like a commentary for her relationship with her mom, but also not make it too obvious. I don't know if this is something that will be helpful for you, but in my notes, I kind of put here, wouldn't it be interesting if already, like aside from the really good suggestions Steph made about having more like action with the cat, I wonder if would you consider like having similarities between the cat and the mom like at the beginning. So I don't know if does the cat have certain demeanor that reminds her of the mom, like Is the cat as prickly as her mom, for example, in her memory, or maybe the cat has like a facial, like a scar in her eyebrow, like her mom would have. For me, like visually as a reader, it would make the connection faster and not like it doesn't feel like you're trying too hard. But that's just me. Maybe something to consider.
Thank you.
And also, like, just to to add a little bit to the question about should it be first person, I guess, like, what you'd have to consider would be, does Christine's voice have like anything like very specific to add? Because for me, like, first person, like this is my preference. Like, first person should only be used if like the narrator has a really interesting voice that you want to explore. And the thing is, like, I think, use your voice when you're talking about Christine's story. And I think that's you already made that connection like really clear. I really liked how you handled it. So yeah, like, so for me, I'm leaning towards, I think, third person only. But yes.
For me, for me, I just cannot imagine the story in third person. Like the intense feeling of the main character, I feel it very strongly in first person. So like if you change it to the third person, I don't know if I could feel the same way when like the tail was stuck on the door when she was really mad at the mom. Yeah, I think I prefer first person because the emotional stuff.
Okay, thank you.
I can react to, I guess, give my own reaction, my own like, how do you say, my own first impression and reaction to what other people had said. So my first impression was, well, I read your question, so I knew what were your like expectations, rather what were your hopes, and so I set my expectations around that. Um, and yeah, I was like, oh great, sign me up for another uh, parent-child story. Always down for another parent-child trauma story. And yeah, so I think you were definitely able to deliver. Super, I'm a huge fan, and um, I was worried like, oh my god, I won't be able to give you any good comments because usually I'm the devil's advocate against the writer, but I think now I'm like the devil's advocate on all the suggestions. So like kind of react to what other people had said. Um, so what Steph had said about the which was a question that you had, which is on the first two paragraphs. Could you shorten it? Or could you make it more efficient? I think the first paragraph is fine, and I think it was the second paragraph, the meeting, how they met story. I'm not sure how much that scene adds to the story as a whole, because no matter how I think the relationship would still be the same between cat and human. Like 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 you said, um, cats don't remember, or they don't, they sort of don't. Uh, what was it? The line? Cats don't keep score. Oh my god, I love that line. Yeah, give me a second. Soon as my lips are moving right. There you go. Yeah, I got conscious. I want to make this right. Okay, so I think that's where you could cut. For me, I think you could cut it out completely, and instead use that space to maybe focus on like what Steph was saying on the first paragraph and add more to those. But I felt as it is, I didn't think it was well. I'm biased here because I'm a fat cat person, but I feel like you were able to capture it so well in one paragraph, and like I felt like you were able to capture it so well, and I felt it was so immersive. And I think that's what's the most important. And this is my reaction to sort of what Andy said, and she also acknowledged it, which is as long as it's subtle enough, like as long as it's not too obvious, you could include these like ties together. But I think what you really have that's your strength here is how immersive the relationship feels and how authentic and real it is. And I don't think you should sacrifice that for anything else. So always my advice, my if I could give some, I'm not a writer, but I would say just keep that in mind, and I think you'll do. You can implement these changes and make it like way better. Like you know, yeah. I'm sure you can do it. You can pull it off.
Thank you.
Can I just say something quickly about the immersion that Raphael was saying? Like, yes, about like the accuracy of everything you described about, being a cat mom. But I feel like when it comes to immersion, like you can have just one moment and be immersed in that moment, as opposed to, being immersed in like all the things you do as a cat mom.
Mhm.
I feel like in this story, because you have very clean acts, 3 clean acts, and I feel like the first one, to polish it a bit more, maybe zeroing in on a moment, and then you have your flashbacks as you sort of immerse your character in that moment. That's also really fine. So you have your moment, whatever that is, whether it's watching the cat sleep or playing with the cat, and then you flash back to the first encounter and why the name Iris. That's fine. But yeah, sorry, I'm just defending my my suggestion, because I think I would still be immersed, because you're able to really flesh out different parts of being, a cat mom.
Thank you.
I guess I want to add up as well. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if I agree with either Step or Rafael, but I mean, as a non-cat owner, yeah, I feel like, I mean, reading it like right now, I feel like it's okay. I immersed either way, even though it was like maybe long.
Mhm. You mean you
But
thought it
maybe
was
you might,
okay?
maybe you can find a way to make it even more like condensed, if possible. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, for me, even this is okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Seaway. Can I
Yeah.
add on just on since we're on the parts that we think we could cut to make it more effective? I just have two quick things. So plus one
Mm.
on what everyone has said. So everything is, I think, very, very clean. But to make it, I think, extra tighter, for me at least, what you could trim down for me is the part where, after they have that fight, right, and then Christine goes home, and you have the line where you're supposed to be a very happy cat, and then there's this like delivery, and then her tail gets hurt. I feel like the tension could be ramped up if that part was
Mm.
stripped down to just her, coming home, having that like argument with the cat. Like, you're supposed to be happy and doing everything, and then I don't know how you're gonna do it, but maybe like remove or like trim down the part where delivery happens, and then it just escalates to the broken tail. That's one, but that's just for me. Another thing I think that, not really trim, but I think um, could be a bit redundant. Could be, hold on, sorry, I'm trying to look for my notes. Or was it? Right here. I think Raphael mentioned it. Also, one of my favorite lines in the story, which is cats don't keep score. I love it, and I think that repeating it again at the ending part, the conclusion, when she has the realization right after having that conversation in the hospital that, yeah, cats don't keep score. She repeats it, if I'm not mistaken, in the narration, right? She
Mm.
says it again to confirm um, that part. I feel like What do you call this? It apparently you don't have to repeat it again after the vet says it out loud. Like cats don't keep score. I feel like that just the vet saying it and having it just in the air is enough of like a emotional punch to recall for the reader to recall the earlier conversation. For me, I feel like spelling out the realization kind of takes away from the enjoyment of the aha, I got it as the reader. I feel like it's strong without that whole part at the end. That's it.
Thank you. About the tail thing, right, Andy? I was wondering because originally I wanted it to be shorter, like what you said, but then I was afraid that it would seem very cliche. Like suddenly the tail gets caught in a door. I didn't know how to make that happen without having her go out for delivery because I think if she's a cat mom, she will be very careful with doors. That Do you have any suggestions?
Oh man, I don't have a cat. I think I'll leave it up to I'll leave the question to Steph and Raphael. But yeah, I see what you mean though. I'm also trying to think of ways to make that scene not too yeah.
Um,
There was a oh sorry, go.
I thought of the same. I thought of that too. Like, how could you make that mistake? But I was able to dismiss it because you said that there was this sudden gust of wind, and like um, it's happened where like I mean I know I imagine exactly this like pressure, kind of like negative pressure scenario where a door would suddenly like could be fully opened but still like end up like slamming closed, right? And you wouldn't expect it would come out of nowhere, and you wouldn't expect it. So yeah, I guess I could because uh, I guess I could imagine that happening. So
Um, there's a scenario where it doesn't have to do with like the air pressure thing that Raphael was saying, but that definitely happens and it's very possible for, as an accident in this apartment. But this was just like an incident with my cat. Um, I was going to close the door and because the door or like the space in the bedroom is really small and there's hardly a space between the door and the foot of the bed. And the one time that I was gonna close the door, it got super near the bed and and my cat just ran into the bedroom and it hit his neck. And I thought, yeah. So, it's like I think that's another thing with cats, maybe as well. Like when they get zoomies, they just get zoomies, and you never know when it's gonna happen. So I don't know if you want to use that scenario in terms of like a small apartment and like the space between a door and a furniture or an appliance. But I think that's either way. I think whether it's the air pressure thing or like the space between door and furniture or appliance, I think both or either of those would be like smart use of space in the story and also like for to show I guess context of the socio-economic background of your character, which is also like like an undercurrent I guess of the story. So yeah, you're free to use my my story.
Thank you.
I hate it. I hated myself for that.
Was your cat okay?
It seemed like he was shocked, but then he still ran to the window. Uh, yeah, because he was running to the window.
Mm. Okay. How much time do I have left?
you have 15 minutes total.
Oh, that's still quite long. Um, I wanted to ask, like, is the ending too short? I know Clarice said it's a bit unclear, right? I had a similar comment from a friend as well. She said she wanted me to make it clearer what the protagonist was thinking. Yeah, she said because it's not that clear, she felt not as satisfied as she would be. Mhm. What do you guys think?
I can go. Um, for me, I think I would have the same conclusion as your friend, Siwei. I think like on an emotional level, they seem to have an agreement on where they stand, but I feel like I don't know because I feel like the heart of the story is largely about um, how their sort of love languages can also differ. I feel like the mother, the way you write the mother, she's the type of person who would see quality time, for example, like Christine choosing to spend time with her as a way that she would confirm that she's loved by Christine. And Christine, I feel like she's more of the person who would see um, words of affirmation as the way that she would say, okay, I'm being loved right now.
Mhm.
And in my notes, I was saying, I was writing, I feel like it would be nice to see them actually, now that they've confirmed, okay, I see you, them actually acting on how they would have liked to, experience that kind of love. So um, what I wrote was, for example, like in the end, like Christine, right, in the hospital, um, she was, she's having that conversation with the mom, and she actually tells the mom, like, where was it? Like, hey, it's okay. I'm trying to look for it, but she was kind of implying the mom could she had to go, like she had to go now because something important was happening with her cat. So it felt like she was dismissing the mom, which I feel like that would hurt the mom because the mom would feel like, right, her love language is being needed, being around her daughter. So what if you would explore what would happen after? So like, does the mom maybe come to visit with at the hospital and just, I don't know, like sit with her in silence with a cat between them? And she hates cats, right? Or I don't know, but she's here, and that in itself is like a statement on its own. And maybe like, what would happen if Christine, instead of asking her mom, like, hey, I have to go now, like what if she would actually not brush her away and accept, her mom being there, ask for help? I don't know. So maybe more them acting on it would be interesting to see in the ending to make it more clear. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope that was helpful.
About yeah, that was helpful. I wanted to ask you, like, that sentence, right? I meant for her mom to call and like continue abusing. That's why she was like, I can't deal with this right now. So her mother was like, oh, she wants her daughter to go back because she says, don't make me waste the food or something like that. I don't want to deal with the food. So um yeah. Is that obvious or not very obvious?
I see. It makes sense. Although at first read, it wasn't for me. It was just for me.
Thank you.
Um, for me, like the conversation itself, like about going back and taking the food, um, yeah, it didn't really come off as a fight to me. Actually thought the mom was softening in the end, especially when she says, "Oh, okay." So, or even before that, like, "Oh, the cat, okay." So I felt her really soften at that point. And I I like that when the mom said, "Then it's okay then." I found that surprisingly comforting after the drama of Act 2 and Act 3. And I guess with the ending, um, I wasn't sure what they meant when they were saying it's just a cat. Because
Mm.
I wasn't sure. I don't know how Christine is able to distance herself from um from Iris after what had happened, and like, is it because she realizes that cats don't keep score, therefore why am I even bothering so much? I there are so many ways to read that, and
Mm.
both, like, there are positive ways to read that and negative ways to read that, and I felt like I needed to know, especially since it's repeated twice, or like three times, right? Like, it's just a catla, it's just a cat, and then the last paragraph, it's just a cat. So I wasn't sure what was going on in terms of thought process, and I kind of wish that it actually wasn't, like, that wasn't the conclusion. Like,
Mm.
in terms of ambiguity, I like ambiguity and I like subtext, and I actually like the your last sentence about the silence between them. And I was kind of wondering, and this is just like one of those options that you can do or experiment with. Like, what if we end with the mom just saying, "Then it's okay." And then I don't know what's gonna happen from there, but like, then it's okay. And then, Christine is just left with that silence of like, what does that mean? Like, with the mom saying, "Then it's okay," right? Like, when you say, when people say it's okay, it could be like a flippant, "Yeah, it's okay." There's that. There's the, "It's okay when the world is falling apart behind you and you're just saying it to convince someone and yourself that it's gonna be okay, but it might not be okay." So there's that reading of "then it's okay." And there's the "then it's okay that it really is gonna be okay, no matter what." So
Mm.
I think with those three readings, I found the nuance of that stronger than the "it's just a cat."
Mm.
So that "then it's okay," and then the silence of that, I think, is for me m- worth exploring than the "just a cat." Yeah.
Thank you. About the just a cat line, right? Her mother actually said it once when they were fighting. Like, "It's just a cat. Why are you wasting money on it?" So I wanted the line to be repeated at the end because this time she meant it as a consolation. Like, "Don't be sad. It's just a cat." And she understands that her mother is trying to comfort her in a very twisted way, but she doesn't get angry at her mother for that.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Is that too contrived?
I personally
So
find it confusing. Oh, sorry.
like, go ahead.
Yeah, I personally find it very confusing. The last line, "It's just a cat one." If you
Mm.
didn't explain it to me, I wouldn't get it. Like at all.
Mm. Okay, thank you.
Like, personally, I didn't get that, but also I do think that's interesting. Like, so the shift here is that she actively decides to separate the, like, my mom is intending to comfort me, and these are the words she's using. The words are hurtful and not true, and she does not like them. But what she's doing, she gets rid of them and focuses on "my mom is trying to comfort me." So is that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's very interesting to me. Like, it wasn't clear, but I also like it. Like, I like that. Like, maybe it needs more, like more clarification. I also, like, wanted to, like, add, like, I think, like, what you wanted here, and, like, from what you said about the just a cat thing, like, is like that is the character's journey, the ability to, like, separate, like, intent and with, like, what the word said, or like the story behind like and the action, like trying to separate those two things in a way. Like it's interesting though because what it feels like more in the end is that she's focusing on the story rather than the words that are actually being said. If that makes sense, you know. So like that's something that that you might think of. She's not thinking about the action on hand. She's thinking, my mom loves me and tries to comfort me. And also like something I also like wanted to add, if you wanted to make it about like story versus what's happening in front of me, like maybe that could be a conflict that is like more pushed in like earlier in the story. The fact that like that her like interactions with her mom and maybe even the cat is so colored by previous interactions or previous interpretations that she has like such a very thick lens that she views the world. And if she wants to stick with the theme of separating those two things, in the end she manages to somehow take the lenses off to focus on the action at hand. But it depends because like I said earlier, like it feels at this point that like what she does need to do, or what you wanted her to do, was to focus on the story that her mom loves her rather than the hurtful words in a way that she is using to comfort her. So yes.
Oh, question for. Oh, sorry.
What's your question?
I guess this is for Siwei and also the fictionists here, because I really like Siwei's. Can you? Because I really like how Siwei phrased or explained that it's just a cat, and is it possible to just write that explanation? Because that's Christine's thought process anyway, and like we got the same when Christine was thinking of the cats don't keep score. So is it okay in a short story to sort of for the narrator to spell it out for us what is also going through Christine's mind, like her process of being okay with her mom saying it's just a cat na. Like yeah.
I think you can. It's just as long as it's not, like spoon fed too directly. They always say to just write enough so that the reader can know, but that depends on what kind of style you're into. But actually related to that sentence, right? And related to what Andy mentioned just now, I actually intended because Christine is someone who values like words of affirmation, but it's a kind of language that her mother cannot give her. And in the end, she is sort of okay with that. She accepts that she is loved without having it her way. That was my intention. Yeah, I would love to know like what you think about it. And also, Andy can answer, and Clarice can answer Stephanie's questions as well.
Hold on. Before any of you answer, I just want to know. I just want to let everyone know that we are out of time, but we can all have just like a minute left to just answer that question, and maybe final words as well. But yeah, let's just make it like 2 minutes.
Super quick. I like what Siwei was trying to go for, where like at the end she realizes that her mom using the same words that in its original context were meant to hurt her again, but in a different context, because like she doesn't have the language required for the kind of affection that Christine wants. So that was also what I was gonna say earlier. Maybe if there was a way to make that realization for Christine at the end more clear to the reader, because I didn't get a sense of her, coming to terms with, okay, this is my mom saying the same words because she doesn't know what else to tell me, but it's not coming from a bad place, but this is just what my mom can do. Like, I'm never gonna get the soft parenting that I wanted, and maybe that's okay. Maybe something about that. Yeah, that's it for me.
And for me, I really love that theme. Like it's so interesting to me, and it's such a like I don't know. I just don't see it explored like that jump of like you have to kind of accept your parents that they do love you, and it's also not the way you want to be loved probably, and in some ways it probably hurts you. So I really like that. At the same time, I think it does need to be a bit foreshadowed a little bit more because I don't think that that's what the previous aspects of the story foreshadowed. You know, like I feel like you could like especially like you know like with like I'm not really sure maybe more flashbacks about of the mom because we get her presence. We see it as imposing. We feel it within the story, and I think you described that beautifully and like really well. But also we don't really see how the mom's past actions I think color so much her Christine's perspective right now. What I'm seeing actually is like Christine is battling her like her um like conflict with her mom in like by using a new story about like trying to think of it as if she's the cat and the mom is her cat mom in a weird way, and that doesn't work. It quickly crumbles, you know. And in the end what she decides is okay, like instead of finding a new story to tell myself, I'll just settle for no story, just the fact that my mom loves me, you know. And I think the articulation of that journey will be helpful, and more foreshadowing of it would be helpful. And for like to answer Steph's question, I think you could like just like spell it out. I think it probably depends on how you like you say it. Like what comes to mind is like old Russian novels, like the end of Anna Karenina. One of the characters like goes through like a big conversion, and how he goes through that like it's philosophically like spelled out step by step. That was like really wild, but I don't see that in modern stories. So I'm not sure. It can't. It's been done before, in my opinion, dolls, and I kind of want to see it sometimes, like just because I want to see more really interesting perspectives of how you can get from one point to another. But I guess it depends on how you write it, or how much you want, like how much you value subtlety. Yeah.
I think maybe also to connect what Andy and Clarice said, I think maybe what could be expounded more on is Christine's reaction to what the mom says. Because right now, we have it's just a Katla, her mother said, and Christine felt like she understood. And it's not explored if we're going into like, is this like a love language thing, like some barrier, or is it like a, you know what, I'm just gonna settle for this, and this is the story that I'm just gonna tell myself, or I'm just gonna settle for no story. So I think that process has to be clear for Christine and the reader, and then maybe you can still end with the silence. But yeah, I think at least for me, I think I would need to see how Christine reacts to that it's just a Katla. And I think also in terms of like love language, I think it's cool that for the mom it's service, because it was literal service, right? And for Christine, it's words of affirmation. And I guess I found it really cool as well that Christine is very observant, even for her mom, not just for her cat. So I felt like there was that affection as well. I don't know if that's a love language, but definitely that's a sign of you caring for someone, because you're so observant, with like the mom and the plastic containers and stuff. So I feel like maybe Christine at the end could go back to that. Like, how does the mom say it? Was there something, did she croak a little bit? How soft did the voice go? And maybe those are the things she would latch onto at the moment. So yeah.
Thank you. Any more comments?
So yeah, when the Christine, I guess forget the name of the main
Yeah, it's Christine.
character, yeah, the Christine and the mom meeting up. My first impression of the mom is, I don't know if the others think the same, but like I think she's a horrible person, and I don't know if you wanted her to be seen like that, but yeah, that's what I get. And even like in the end of the story, I mean, like I guess I can feel like she's softening. Like I guess that also said that, right? Like maybe the mom is actually softening, and I kind of like want a confirmation. For me, I want a confirmation that is she really softening, or was she like really horrible? Like she asked her to come so she could like rate her even more or something like that. Like I don't know. I kind of like want to know for sure.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Yay. Thanks, Yule.
Yay. Thanks.